I'm marketing director at Vision Studios. My name is Adriana Silva, and this is an interview with Rich Della, that is the director of the Fakefluencer film. So I'm really, really pleased to be part of this, I think, opera prima. I don't know how to say it properly, but this is your first piece of film production, and it's quite interesting to be part of an experiment like this. How did you combine your art profile with cryptocurrency industry? In which point these two opposite environments, they get merged?
Yeah, that would have been back in 2014. So prior to that, I had I'd studied fine art, specialized in video installation, digital installation sort of works, and I've always played with cameras. So 2014, I was like, I'm going to start a video, a small video production business. I believe that everybody's going to need video services going forward, so I want to get involved in that. And prior to that, I only had photography experience, so I needed a way to sort of get better at video. And at that same time, I discovered Bitcoin, and I was always, I thought I like the investigation, the journalistic style approach. So I took my camera and I went into Stockholm and started interviewing startups that were working with Bitcoin basically, and telling their stories, cutting little profile interviews with those guys, the CEOs, the founders of those companies. And I sort of continued along that path for a few years, off and on, in tandem with growing my own video production company. So I would kind of use BitJoin to learn the tools and then immediately apply them in my telephoto business, where I'm making commercials and stuff for startups again. But my main focus was about the founders, the people that were bringing these products to market. What was their story? What encouraged them to go on their journey? Because I thought that was a much more interesting story. I mean, it was quite easy to know what the product did, or but what about the person behind it? And so it was a documentary type approach to that. So learning on the job, essentially.
So you were involved just for luck, luckily you get involved with Bitcoin and the blockchain community, and at that time you were already producing stuff for different brands. Did you get did you get involved with influencers at that time? Did you met some influencers when you were producing those pieces?
Well, yeah, but at that time I wasn't really familiar with the term, to be honest. They were, they were at the top of their game in the local crypto communities, if you like. So they were running businesses, and they were some of the first, pioneering folk in the space. So, but not really how I thought about it at that time. It wasn't until I managed to get my head around the technology to such a level where I decided to try to start my own venture, which was called Quids. And that actually really sort of projected me into the influencer world, because I was looking at ways for brands to leverage not influencers but micro influencers. So rather than all the money flowing towards these big players with all these massive audiences, it was a service that allowed brands to have anybody sort of apply. It was a kind of tokenized word of mouth type service. So that's where I cut my teeth with what influencer marketing was, and all about that sort of arrangement. But that didn't work out. I think I put about 3 or 4 years into that, and plenty of money, obviously. But I learned a hell of a lot, and it's put me in a very good position right now to make a film like this, basically. Given all my experience and what have you over the last 7 years that I've been in Sweden. I'm kind of applying it, rolling it all into this project.
All right. So how the Fakefluencer name came to your head? How?
That was Bitman 360. That was off the back of Bitman 360, who was a fake crypto influencer, that character that I created. And yeah, as that character was coming to an end at the start of 2020, I was like in two minds what to do about that. And then I decided I've always wanted to make a film, so this is probably a good point to leap off from. And he was a fake influencer, and there's plenty of them out there. And I thought, fake fluent, just make a new word. When you launch products online, you want to have a unique, searchable term. So the Fakefluencer kind of encompassed everything that I wanted to touch on.
You start to create the environment first, to design products, to put it online, to put it on sale, and then you realize that you are like actually portraying like a Fakefluencer. Because as I know, you have like all these projects. It's been like prepared and being constructed for almost a year or more than a year, and you start like putting out one of the main characters of the film and starting like a profile in social media, start a conversation stuff. So in all this time, what's the experience about the products online?
Well, when I put Bitman out there, he was part of another project, Making an Influencer, it was called. So he wasn't part of a film at that time, but he, over his year online, that project, he launched Scooter Coin and some mad, a church, the ministry, the Church of Decentralization. He did all the kinds of activities that an influencer would do, I guess. And he was invited a number of times to do collaborations. Although I never followed through with those, and a lot of those, never happened anyway, because the guy at the other end obviously figured out what was going on. It was a really, really steep learning curve, and an extremely good way to familiarize myself with the editing softwares and the green screen stuff. I mean, even though it was almost like a toy, this character that I could play with, and like every time, just whatever I wanted to try, I could try it. And he made some music. He did a bunch of wild stuff. So and then things got a little bit weirder once I'd written the script for the film, and Scooter Coin actually became a real cryptocurrency, and these other characters started to enter the online world that would interact with Bitman as well, which I'm still having a bit of a headache managing those interactions, as you can imagine.
So far, that experience of being like being invited for people of the real world to be part of a convention, or being a speaker, or asking for advice or something, how you feel about it every time that you open that box, and it's like, okay, like how many requests did you have in all this time?
Well, it wasn't so much. It wasn't like, I mean, I did have an online vlog for that project as well, which is out there, once a month for 10, 11 months. So I kind of tried to record what I'd learned along the way, and you can see all that kind of, I don't remember off the top of my head now, but I do remember, like, after 8 months or so, how, a bunch of other users would interact with Bitman as if he was a real dude. And that was kind of weird, because there's a lot of odd people online on social media that are like, have avatars and what have you.
And so far, I don't know, what is the biggest challenge for you being a producer, like being an actor, being like lots of things involved of the production. What was the biggest challenge so far?
Definitely switching off. Just to switch off. That takes a bit of practice, obviously, because you're always kind of. It's like this extremely complicated puzzle that you're missing lots of pieces. And you have a timeline that you've got a deadline where all the pieces of the puzzle need to land perfectly in place to make this this thing happen. But then in parallel, it's like once all the puzzle pieces fall into place and you've got the film, you still need people to see the bloody thing, right? So that's all running in parallel. What what you're helping me out with, and what we're working on together is making sure that the marketing engine gets fired up in time for the premiere. And we're about 5 months out now. Yeah, 5 months left to get that engine like turning, basically. But I think we've got a pretty solid strategy. Characters out online, putting them into the media, building those kind of creative corporations and stuff. I think we're onto a winner with that approach if we can make it happen, and I believe we can.